Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play Team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again, another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I'm your keeper, Keeper Michael, and we return to Horror on the Orient Express, and we are in Paris. So if you're joining us from the previous episode, we're still in that early Parisian morning. The fog is now lifted, and it seems that the investigators have some decisions to make today. So let's start with cast introductions to my right.
Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm playing James Robert Fraser.
And to Mr. Fraser's right.
Hi, I'm Rena. I'm playing Lady Elizabeth Fitzroy, and I see dead people.
Evidently, at the end of the table.
Hi, I'm Giles. I'm playing Simon Griffiths, and I'm the man with the box.
Right, but not the man in the box. To Mr. Griffiths' right.
Hi, I'm Miranda, and I'm playing Maggie Bellinger.
And last but most certainly not least.
I'm Martin, and I'm playing Richard Courtney.
All right, so we will pick back up at the Bristol with the assembled investigative team having thoroughly gone through a stolen box from Charenton and having recovered a journal entry of Dr. Duplass, which we read last game. They now have a somewhat almost grim overview of a treatment that this patient who was found at Charenton and what may have become of them. And so that mid-morning, say it's about 10 a.m. now, you all have some decisions to make about what comes next. So I leave it in your capable hands. We are in either a banquet room or a conjoined hotel room, or perhaps even down in the eatery area. Open, larger tables, the croissants and coffee, chocolates available to you from staff, ferreting out what comes next.
So Mr. Fraser is still a little tender, slightly worse for wear from his close encounter with the wall of the lower level of Charenton. He's kind of rather sort of gingerly sitting himself in a chair to drink his cup of tea.
You're sure you don't want to get checked out at a hospital for that, Mr. Fraser? It looks quite nasty.
I suppose perhaps I should see somebody, but I've had worse.
Lady E doesn't look convinced, but she's not going to push him to do something he doesn't want to do. So I'll just make sure you get it attended to today, regardless of other things that we do.
I'll speak to reception and see if there's somebody, the medic, doctor, or the hotel could call.
Very well then.
So I'll go to reception, kind of get slightly stiffly out of the chair and see if I can hail the receptionist at the hotel.
You get caught probably about halfway to reception by a staff member who kind of gingerly slows you up with a gentle hand kind of out and says, Are you quite all right, sir?
Merci. I took a wee bit of a tumble. I lost my footing on the stairs there and had a wee fall. Is there a doctor in the house?
Oh, of course. Please, he gestures to a very close chair. If you just take a seat here, I will find you someone immediately.
Oh, thank you very much. Much appreciated. I'll just sit here then, yes, I kind of ease myself down into the chair.
You take a seat, and you can still feel in your back and on your leg where this deep bruising probably has taken place.
Sort of sit and grit my teeth and wait for someone to arrive to look after me.
The staff member comes back a couple of minutes later with a short man. He's got slicked comb-over hair. He's got a broom-handle mustache. He has a bag with him, and he takes off his hat and gingerly nods to you. The staff member says, Dr. Gasparini will take it from here, yes? And the doctor nods to the staff member, and he walks on. You see this shorter man kind of step forward, and he introduces himself. I am Dr. Vincenzo Gaspari. What has happened to you? He sets his doctor bag down on the table.
It's my own stupid fault, really. I missed my footing on some steps and took a wee tumble down them, and I think I've bruised myself rather badly. Maybe perhaps we could just make sure nothing's broken and maybe, I don't know, bandage me up or something.
Of course, sir, of course. The hotel here will allow me to use the room. He gestures to what appears to be a staff room, but maybe 4 to 5 yards away. If you'll come there, there's a table. I can take a more thorough look, you understand.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I don't like to make a fuss.
No. I did most of my service and learning in the war. He picks up his hat. We are in much better times now. It'll be all right. Please come.
You'll have seen a lot worse than this, then, I imagine.
The doctor takes you in there and has you take off the coat and a bit of the shirt just so that he can get a look at what's been done. And he doesn't make any sort of recognizable reaction from the doctor. He just simply goes to work. And he almost hums a bit as he starts bandaging you up. And you don't really, at first, catch the tune, but by the end of it, you realize that he's humming something by Debussy that you've heard before. And it almost lulls you a bit, not to sleep, but you relax quite a bit.
Is that not Claire de Lune?
Aye, yes, he smiles. You know it.
I do, aye, it's one of my favourites. Aye. That and L'après-midi d'une faune. I'm very partial to Debussy.
Well, I am as well. He finishes up. So, if you will rest and make no vigorous movements and keep the bandages where they are, I'm sure it will heal very quickly. You seem like a very vigorous man. He curls his hands into 2 tiny little fists and smiles at you.
Aye, yes. Take it easy. No rough and tumble. Aye.
No.
What do I owe you, Doctor? That's much appreciated.
No. I could not possibly take a franc for the services. He takes out a crucifix and he makes the sign of the cross and puts it away, and he says, I live my life as a humanitarian now.
Oh, I see. Do you have a clinic nearby?
No, I'm not from here. I'm from Venice.
Ah, Venice. Well, we may be visiting your fair city in the not too distant future. Where myself and my companions are travelling through Europe.
Well, unfortunately, Italy has changed very much since the war.
Ah, yes, I understand. Yes, there's a new regime coming to power. Perhaps not the most beneficial to the people of the country.
A forlorn shadow passes over him, and he says, "There will be a time, I think, soon where the gifts that God has given me that I must press into action again."
I hope not. I certainly do. I wouldn't. Well, I fought in the war myself, and I've seen what a terrible thing it is, and I wouldn't wish that on any man in any country. Not that again.
No. Please, He makes the sign of the cross again. Go, please. Do your best for the day to. No gymnastics.
No, of course not. No, I shan't be vaulting over any gates today. Again, thank you very much. This really does help. I much appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, and probably within 10 or 15 minutes, you're back to the table. So in that time, those of you still at the table, what's your fancy?
Well, Miss Bellinger, Professor, what did you get up to while we were looking at records in the basement and fighting ghosts?
Oh, not too much. Well, aside from freeing young Paul, we did get that box of records from the former administrator. That took quite some time, and then we met you leaving on our way down to see you, so we didn't get to find out much more information. It was quite amusing to see Richard distracting the secretary at her station so that Mr. Griffith could make away with the box.
Yes, did you like that?
It was very entertaining.
Why, thank you.
It was a comedy of errors is what it was. I almost didn't make it out.
Mr. Griffith, you know your Shakespeare?
I may.
You continue to surprise me.
I can read.
I never insinuated you couldn't. Just, I don't know many former soldiers who know Shakespeare, that's all.
All I know is that you seem to have this idea that Americans are like gutter trash sometimes. There, I said it.
She looks a little taken aback. I apologize if I've given you that impression, Mr. Griffith. I don't have, I think, quite that negative of an opinion, I would hope. Just, you do things very differently from how we do them over in Europe. And it's easier to explain because we all have certain stereotypes. I assume you have plenty of stereotypes about me, and perhaps Mr. Fraser. And sometimes we all play to our stereotypes, I think.
I can see that. And I do understand what you're saying. And I do accept your apology, ma'am. What I am going to say on all this is, now, first, you saw a ghost. Well, are you sure it was a ghost?
Well, he appeared out of nowhere in the fog. He looked very transparent, and he disappeared out of nowhere after whispering creepy things in my ear, so. He also spoke in Latin, and I rather think he was our friend the Comte.
Sounds like an Italian to me.
No, he was very French.
Huh?
Very, but of the revolutionary era.
Well, maybe we need to get you a charm or something.
Why?
To ward against ghosts. My granny would always make charms if you had to do anything with haints.
Well, it's helpful to see the ghosts and talk to them, just not when they push Mr. Fraser up against the wall and, I suppose, break his ribs.
Why would you want to see ghosts and talk to them? That doesn't sound right.
Well, want to know what the beyond is like, and also they can probably give us information. I mean, if it was the ghost of the Comte, then if I saw him again, perhaps we could find out where he kept all of the things we're looking for.
See, this is one of the differences between Europeans and Americans. Americans generally know not to piss off ghosts and haints and stuff like that. And you British, you want to go, well, let's go ahead and talk up the ghost and see what kind of coffee or tea he likes and find out, what he does on other Thursdays and so on, and maybe he'll tell us some things. Y'all are strange.
Well, I would think being a ghost would be a rather lonely affair, and I would appreciate if someone would talk to me if I were a ghost. Though it may be difficult for us to get back into the asylum now that we don't have as much of a reason to be there.
Oh no, I'm not going back there. I'm just saying, perhaps we'll see a ghost of him at his home. I don't know. There are so many different theories in spiritualism that maybe they stay where they died, or perhaps just they can only haunt the places that they visited when they were living, and if that one's the case, we might run into him at his home. So definitely not going back to the creepy asylum. I've had quite enough of it.
Well, and possibly Richard could use the sextant to see and maybe even communicate.
Ah, yes.
Oh, that's a wonderful idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, damn. Oh.
Richard, do you have to be in the area? Is it relative when you use the sextant to where you are?
I would say it's probably easier for me if I was in close proximity, but I believe I found a way to how to explain just to sort of control the time and the space. So I think it would be helpful to be near, but not perhaps essential.
I'm getting up at this point, and I'm going out to find Mr. Fraser because my head is hurting.
I suppose, just for clarity's sake, for ease of use, Mr. Fraser, you exit your treatment room and find a probably a rather concerned-looking Simon seeming to come your way.
So he'll be sort of gingerly putting his now bandaged. I'm guessing he's kind of put bandages around my ribs and so putting his arm into the sleeve of his jacket. Simon. I managed to find a doctor.
Mr. Fraser, you look like you need a drink, and I need a pint of milk, so let's go ahead and head down to the bar. I have to tell you some things about your Lady E that are just driving me up the wall.
It's a little early in the day for a drink, but I'll have a cup of tea with you.
So while they're doing that, I'm looking at the professor. So do you think we could go to his home, and then you could use the device, and maybe you might see him?
I think that's a splendid idea. Yes, yes, I've certainly seen visions of the past in the place that we're in. That would be that would not be beyond the realms of possibility, I believe.
Perhaps we might even see what we're looking for, or some other strange, interesting items. Maybe we'll find something about my book. I don't know, but your device shows us so many wonderful things. It's got to have something marvelous in the comp's old place. Can't see any way this could go wrong.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Lady Elizabeth. Perhaps we could find a new lead that way, seeing the actual past as it was.
Well, yes, I think that would be perfect.
Do you think your friend from the catacombs might be a ghost? Just considering you saw him in the sewer grate, I believe. And since we've learned that ghosts exist as of this morning, just wondering.
That is a good question. He didn't interact with us in a way that a ghost would, I would think, and he did need to be let out, and I would think that the bars would have not stopped just a ghost. He did seem quite hungry, and I'm not sure if ghosts eat or not, but I think he was, a man of sorts.
Of sorts?
Well, we didn't get a good look at him either time, and he did look deformed in a way.
It was rather a strange experience. I'm trying not to think too much about the specifics. I'm content to believe that we let a poor man who was trapped in the catacombs out. I'm sure he wasn't a ghost.
You're content to believe that, Professor? What's the alternative? Did you meet Dracula down in the catacombs?
Precisely. Well, I'm sure it was perfectly normal. a man down on his luck, maybe trying to evade the authorities. I mean, would be a good reason to perhaps be in the sewer. Yes.
Vampires of Paris, the sewer years. Well, if we run into him again, you'll have to introduce me, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, he did seem quite indebted to us, quite grateful. I'm sure that would be fine.
Yes, and it's quite coincidental that we would run into him, well, twice in all of Paris, so possibly we will see him again and can introduce you.
Mr. Fraser and Simon, you arrive at the bar for perhaps a mid-morning drink, which is perfectly reasonable for you, Simon. It is not necessarily, shall we say, in the daily schedule of one James Robert Fraser.
No, reserve my tipple till the evening time.
Usually, yeah. The bartender here is happy to serve you whatever you would like, though.
Cup of tea, if you'd be so kind.
Oui.
Pint of milk, sir. And do you have any croissants or other breakfasting materials?
He moves a basket between the two of you. It has varying selections of bread, and there's even some cheese in paper wrapping.
Perfect. Merci, sir.
So, well, let's take a seat. What's troubling you?
Mr. Fraser, you were telling me a while back about how the professor had slapped that device of his on Lady E, and you were concerned about what would happen.
Well, I was concerned about what did happen. It seemed to attach itself to her face, and then she started screaming, so I pulled the blessed thing off her.
And you warned him not to do it again, right?
Well, I mean, I did mention to him that it was my position to ensure her ladyship's safety, that she came to no harm, and I didn't consider that this particular contraption of his, whatever it might be, was a particularly benevolent item, shall we say?
And you saw something at the asylum or sanitarium yesterday that you can't completely explain at the moment, and Lady E persists in calling a ghost.
Well, I mean, I can explain it perfectly well. There was some fellow had followed us down the stairs into the room where we were working, and when we came out, he took advantage of the fog or whatever it was, and to throw me against the wall.
Now, I am not entirely going to rule out that it wasn't a haint, because as Lady E mentioned, she heard a voice in her ear, which is atypical for someone in a passage beating you up.
Well, perhaps he had an accomplice.
It's entirely possible, but like I said, I'm not ruling it out at this time.
I'm sorry, did you say what, a haint?
A haint.
What is it? What exactly is a haint? It's not a term I'm familiar with.
A haint is what you in the city folks would call it a haunt. That's damn hard to say.
A haunt? Like a haunting, a haunted house?
Exactly, sir.
A spirit of some kind, an unquiet spirit, a poltergeist or something like that?
I don't know all those terms. I don't speak that much German. Now, the thing is, after all that happened, the professor and Maggie proposed that he and Lady E slap that thing on their face and go back to the sanitarium and looking for the ghost thing again. Or take it down to the estate that burned down and look for that. So they're talking about using this device again in unsafe manners.
What, I mean, what?
They're stupid.
I don't. I see what you mean. I see where your position. I really do. But you have to understand. I am Lady Elizabeth's servant, I'm not in a position to tell her what she can and cannot do. Now, Mr. Courtney, on the other hand, if I see him taking action which I believe may result in her ladyship being injured in some way, I will most certainly place myself in the way of that. But if her ladyship makes a decision of her own free will, I don't have the authority, I don't have the position that I can simply just say no to her. Whatever I might think of her actions or her, whether I agree with them or not, it's not my place.
So I'm just concerned for our fellows, and I wanted to let you know that chances are this is going to go ahead and bite us in the ass.
Well, I mean, thank you for bringing it to my attention, Simon. I will most certainly give my strong recommendation that she does not touch that thing again, and frankly, I am surprised that he's had the temerity to mention it after I had a discussion with him about it. But her ladyship has a very strong will in these matters. If she is determined to put this thing on, she doesn't seem to be aware of the effect that it actually had on her. And when Mr. Courtney, when he placed it on himself, it didn't seem to do the same thing to him. He seemed to be quite quiet and calm with the thing on her face. So I suspect that her ladyship thinks that's what happened to her. She doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that she was screaming when she had it on, and that's really what concerns me.
I hear what you're saying, sir. And this device, which I have no idea of beginning to explain, could be useful. But what I am saying is we have to be prepared for this shit to backfire.
I fully appreciate what you're saying, and I think their cavalier attitude in testing out this machine by randomly fiddling with the different knobs and levers on it and then attaching it to their faces just to see what happens next, I think is remarkably, well, in Mr. Courtney's case in particular, it's a remarkably unscientific method.
And who gets to clean up their mess?
Well,
we do.
Yes, indeed, yes.
That's the other reason why I'm bringing this up. So, if they're determined to do this, I guess the only things that the two of us can do is make sure shit doesn't go south.
I suppose. Well, as long... forewarned is forearmed, as they say. And as long as we have some sort of inkling of what to expect, then... but I honestly, I think this carefree attitude they have towards this dangerous thing, this well, frankly, ungodly thing that they have, which seems to give them visions, which it clearly has some perhaps narcotic effect on the mental faculties. I think they're dicing with danger. They really are.
That's rich people for you.
Well, I don't know about that. I've met a fair few very, shall we say, reckless people who don't have two farthings to rub together in my time. But certainly, yes, I'm not arguing that those who have achieved a certain stature, a certain place in society, they do tend to have the opinion that they're untouchable. And that is very, very much not the case.
All right, well, let's go deal with all this. I hope your tea was good, and I hope you're feeling okay.
Well, I've been better, but, I've been worse.
Let's go back and listen to what the children have got planned for us.
Aye, well, indeed. Aye, let's go and see what's to do. I have my own theories about what's going on here, and perhaps, well, I don't know. Let's go and see what they've decided, and then we'll see what we need to do to make sure that they get in as little trouble as possible.
I have an idea. How about you and I take the professor out to drink, loosen his tongue, and listen to what his theories are, and then we can tell him our own.
Aye, maybe. I don't know. I mean, does he need to have his tongue loosened? He seems to be quite happy to chat away.
Yeah, but I mean, he's pretty much an open book, but there might be an appendix or two we haven't heard yet.
Aye, maybe. Let's keep that one on the back burner for now, shall we? And we'll see what they have to say. We've got the rest of the day ahead of us, and we do have business to attend to, pertinent to this expedition we're on.
All right, back to the table with the two of you. So they come back. Those of you at the table who never left, kick around some ideas and perhaps have a bit of brunch and settle yourself. And then Mr. Griffith and Miss Fraser come back.
Ah, welcome back. We've just decided that we're going to see the Comte's house. Are you coming along?
The Poissy residence, is that the one you're meaning, your ladyship?
Yes, quite.
Aye, I can see that. If there's anything left of it, aye. I think. Did they not burn it back during the revolution when they took him into custody?
And it might be remains, a basement, or, torture dungeon or something like that. Besides, maybe his ghost is still haunting the place, who knows?
Aye, maybe, aye. Do we know where it is?
I'm sure we'll be able to find it. It's Poissy can't be that large a place.
Well, I mean, you were in the library researching the Comte, were you not? Did you get the address of his mansion or whatever it might be?
I'm quite sure that there must be a town hall or some local records. It should be fairly easy to track down, I think.
So you don't actually know where it is. We're going to go to Poissy and just hunt about.
Richard looks over at Lady Elizabeth.
Can I make a suggestion, if it's all right? Shall we investigate at the library and see if we can discover where this gentleman's resident was exactly, and then we can just go straight there?
I guess there's no harm in that. I mean, these libraries do seem to have their own system.
Well, there must be a hall of records or somewhere like that would have records of the houses of the aristocracy of the time.
The French do not seem to be the most organized.
So, do me a favor, Mr. Fraser, and make me an idea roll.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm aware that there's probably was quite a lot of that those sort of records were destroyed during the revolution, but
Sure.
I don't have an awful lot of historical knowledge about that period myself. Let me just check what no, I didn't make that idea roll.
Okay.
I just missed it by 71 over 60.
All right, fair enough. Carry on.
It's just a thought.
So, Hall of Records? Well, I suppose we could do that. Miss Bellinger, don't you have some photographs to pick up?
Yes, I do have some errands to attend to.
I want to buy some salt.
Why?
Gonna make a salt circle around myself when you all are summing up your haints.
Well, I'm sure the chemist would have some of that, and I'm going there anyways.
Get a big one of that.
A what?
I believe he means to ward off the ghosts.
Salt is generally for demons, Mr. Griffith. I'm not sure it'll help you that much with ghosts.
Look, I'm covering all my bases with you.
Mr. Fraser is getting increasingly uncomfortable, not only with the kind of the sort of tension that's in the air, but also with this kind of conversation about ghosts and haints and salt, and it's all a bit kind of out of his remit, out with his remit. So he's just going to go get up. If you'll excuse me for a moment, I must go, please. And I'm going to head over to reception.
Seems strange that you gentlemen keep leaving the table and coming back later.
I might begin to feel like eventually that you're plotting something.
So you go to reception, Mr. Fraser.
Yes. Excuse me. I'm wondering if you could help me. I'm trying to find some information, some historical information about the aristocracy during prior to the revolution and what their seats might be, what their mansions, their houses might be. Is there somewhere that I can get that kind of information? Is there like a historical records office? Or
Most of that would be held within the Bastille. Most of the historical pieces on royalty would be held in the Bastille Museum.
Ah, excellent. And is that open to the public?
Oh, yes, we would show. Yes.
All right, marvelous. Well, I believe we have a map, so would that be open today?
Oh, of course.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate it. I'll look into that this afternoon. Then, thank you again. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
And I'll kind of hobble back.
Okay, and so Maggie, you're talking about going to the chemist to pick up some items in question.
Correct. Yes. Some photos from the catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
And from our trip here as well.
Yep.
Some boat pics.
Boat pictures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everyone likes a good set of boat pictures. Just you were going to head out there? Are you going to go with Richard? Or is that when the two of you are going to scamper off and do more research into maybe the direct location of the Comte's estate?
I don't mind who goes where. Maggie is totally fine going by herself at this point, but because I don't know if they want to go do the research.
Yeah, I'm asking myself the same question.
Maggie hasn't been the best in the library situations lately, so...
Okay.
Neither's Richard with his phenomenal library use skill, but hey,
Yeah.
it must be France.
Okay, so...
Oh, and if anyone is interested in seeing the pictures right away, they're more than welcome to join me, but otherwise I will go solo.
Sounds tempting.
So we'll say you're going to go get your pictures. We'll just leave it at that.
Perfect.
Mr. Fraser, are you going to go to the Bastille by yourself?
Well, I'll let the others know. I'll come back from the reception desk and I'll say, well, it appears that kind of record is held at the library at the Bastille. So I think if we want to know where the Comte's residence is before we actually head out to Poissy, then that's probably the place to find out.
Richard, give me an idea roll.
Okay. So that is, wow, a 6. That is an extreme success.
Awesome.
Is that to make up for my failure at thinking?
So, Miss Fraser's got an excellent idea, although it's a bit misaimed. Yes, the Bastille would be a record of the estates and royalties of France, but most specifically, it's going to be of Paris. It's going to be focused in on Paris and the area directly around it. If you want to know where his actual residence is, you will have to go to Poissy and speak with a record keeper there, because all the records would be kept locally. They wouldn't be shuffled off to a different city. They would be held locally, as you were intimating.
I was thinking that because Poissy's only about 20 miles away from Paris, that it would be still within the jurisdiction of Paris.
Thus the differences between the fail and successful idea roll.
So it seems Richard was right all the time. Damn it.
Blasted professor of being right.
Bloody professors and their thinking brains.
The question is, will Richard let you go to the library on your own?
I don't want to go to a library.
My good man, I believe these records are likely to be held locally. I don't think they bring everything from France back to Paris, you know?
Well, Poissy is not that far away. Surely I would have thought that this would have been a more central location to keep the records of the aristocratic residences. Try saying that when you've had a few.
But Paris is such a large place. They can't keep everything here, can they? And yes, I believe we would. Our endeavours would be more fruitful if we were to conduct the search at Poissy, I believe.
Well, I stand corrected. Let us go to Poissy then, and we'll visit the Hall of Records there.
Well, indeed. Should we wait for Maggie to return?
Oh, has Miss Bellinger, is she away to get her photographs?
I'm rather keen on seeing them, and I would be as well to wait for her to return, I think.
This is a photograph she took of the chap that you met down in the underground. Is that right?
Yes, don't recall exactly everything that went on down there. I'd be interested to see what she has.
I'm sorry, you don't recall everything that happened? Did you suffer a blow to the head or something?
Yes, something, I think. My memories are a little fuzzy.
Perhaps you saw a ghost?
No, I don't think so.
I think we determined he might be a vampire or something.
A vampire, is it? Aye. Ghosts, vampires. Dearie me.
I'm teasing you, Mr. Fraser.
Well, I am easily teased, your ladyship, as well you know.
Yes, well, I must have my fun somewhere.
We'll say for a moment then that Miss Maggie goes out to her chemist. Not that she owns the chemist per se, but she goes to the chemist.
Just the one I use regularly now.
Right, your normal chemist, your hookup.
Yes.
And he provides you with a large manila envelope. He gives you that envelope with a bit of a shaky hand. He tells you that he's done the best he could with the pictures and that he's not sure that he can develop any more pictures for you.
Oh. I'm sorry. I'm new to taking photographs. This is my first camera. I hope they didn't turn out too poorly.
He just continues to shake. He mutters something in a dialect of French that you're not familiar with. Maybe it's slang. You're not sure. But he doesn't even take your money.
Oh. Well, perhaps I could. My companion was looking for some salt. Do you sell salt here? I could purchase from you.
He points to the right there. There's several, not a bin of it per se, but there are several stacks of this formed salt.
I'll get some.
Take as much as you need.
Oh.
And he steps back behind the counter.
Okay. Thank you, sir. How much do I owe you for the salt, then?
No. He shakes his hands like back and forth in front of you, waving you off.
Well, sir, I must insist on paying you for your services, even if I can't, even if I'm not able to utilize them again. I must insist.
He doesn't say anything. He just stands there, stunned.
Okay. I will put an amount of money on the counter then and take my leave.
Okay.
He's taking the money either way.
You step out the door and step back onto the street and just look around this area of Paris again. You know that you're very close to the Eiffel Tower, so it's a pretty stunning view from here, even though you're only able to see parts of it from above the Parisian homes here.
Mm-hmm.
You hear the door lock behind you.
Oh. He must be closing up for the afternoon, maybe taking lunch. Taking a lunch, yes, probably. I want to look at the pictures.
Okay.
I'm not waiting for them. I get outside and I open the envelope.
Okay. You open the manila envelope and you take out the selection of photos.
Okay.
And the first one, it looks all white, almost.
Oh.
It's like it's overexposed. And then you see at the edges, there are little rivulets of darkness. And on these incursions of darkness around the pattern of white, you see in certain portions of that darkness slight developments and features of the fairy.
Perhaps I took this one during a lightning strike.
Well, you remember
Strange.
fairly clear that there was several lightning strikes at the top, at the front of the boat, and maybe you
Yes.
pressed the button down long enough. The second photo is a bit different. The second photo looks like a column of electricity that is standing on the boat. Not standing per se with two legs. It's not bipedal by any means. But there is a well-formed visual of this column of electricity, and there's the slightest outline of an open maw with vertical slashes, which your mind seems to remember back as a mouth. Although it's not nearly as scary as it was up close. This is pretty compelling.
Yes. I think the rest of the group will be quite interested to see these, especially those that didn't get to see it up close. Lady Elizabeth will be quite interested.
As you leaf through the photos, you get to the catacombs. You see some of the pictures of the skulls down there, which, granted, the lighting wasn't very good, but you can see some of them. You see a picture of the bars at the end of the corridor, and the faint outline of what you believe is Guillaume. Guillaume does not photograph well, it seems.
No.
And it isn't because he's disfigured. It isn't because he maybe isn't what you would call picture perfect. It's almost as if there's always a shadow placed over his face that you just don't get enough definition. You see that he's physically there in body. Your brain matches the shape to Guillaume. But it's hard to see any definitive features. He looks maybe like he's been through a war.
Well, the lighting down there was terrible, but this maybe provides proof that he does exist and is not in fact a ghost. Just a gentleman that has some wounds from the war and prefers to live his life away from others.
Yeah, most likely.
Almost certainly.
All right, so you're going to head back after that?
Yeah, I want to share what I have managed to capture with everyone else in the group.
I have no doubt. So you return to the
Eagerly.
You return to the Hotel Bristol, where it seems your companions have vacated their spot in the cafe and probably have returned to their rooms. But they are not hard to track down after that.
Probably go to Lady Elizabeth's room first.
Okay.
Since she stayed in the ferry and didn't come out on deck, and she wasn't with me to see Guillaume, I think she would be most interested in seeing the pictures.
Assault away.
Oh, okay. I'll knock on her door.
Yes, who is it?
Lady Elizabeth, it's me, Maggie. I have picked up my photos, and I thought you would be interested in seeing them. The ones from the ferry, and from the catacombs as well.
Yes, one moment. You hear a bit of rustling. Come in.
I entered.
The chairs in the room have been rearranged so that now they are on opposite ends of a small tea table.
This room is oddly arranged. It doesn't really promote socialization, it doesn't seem.
It suits my physical needs better.
yes, so that's completely understandable then. Well, here are the photos. And I will hand her the envelope, and then I will laugh and show her that I picked up the salt for Mr. Griffith as well. Perhaps this will protect him on the rest of our journeys.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how well salt will protect him against, what was the term he used? Haints?
Haints, yes.
Yes, but, well, at least you got it for him. Now let's have a look at these. Eagerly opening the envelope to start rifling through the photos.
You begin seeing images from Maggie's handiwork. The first overexposed photo looks like she just clicked the button wrong or did something wrong. It doesn't make any sense. It's far too bright. The second picture is terrifying in the sense that the face that's in the lightning itself is more than noticeable enough to make out. And you can see Mr. Fraser in the foreground. And what happened on the deck. I mean, you knew what happened eventually as it rolled into the ferry. But this is very shocking. Although, since you have met the entity before, it's not necessary for you to make an additional SAN roll.
Oh, that's a surprise.
You're not certain that you would want that photo out in the light of day, per se. It might be rather shocking.
It's an excellent photo there, Miss Bellinger. A bit trauma-inducing, I must say. Perhaps we'd better make sure this one isn't left out where the hotel staff or anyone can see it. It might cause some trouble.
Yes, well, hopefully I don't need to get another roll of film developed while we're still in Paris. I have been informed that I will not be able to return to that chemist. And he wouldn't even take my money. I ended up leaving it on the counter for him, and but he insisted that I not return.
I imagine he saw this and was a bit, well, you know how we all reacted when we first saw it, so I can't say I blame him. Just keep it somewhere where other people can't quickly come across it.
Oh, of course, yes. I'll keep it in my belongings.
What else have you got in here? Start flipping through.
Oh, you were curious about Guillaume. There is, I did try to get some pictures of him. They didn't quite turn out. It was very dark down there.
So you flip through a couple more and you begin seeing pictures of the catacombs. You see the rows of skulls, the walls seemingly made out of skulls, which burial skulls are not going to be sanity-inducing by any means. It's well known that the catacombs of Paris are filled with bones. But as the photos continue to go, and she continued to, at some point, use the flash of the camera to guide them in some way, you get to a back corridor picture with a gate, some sort of iron barred gate, and it's a little unnerving because the figure that's on the other side of the gate somewhat resembles a man, and then your brain kind of tells you no, that's something else. There's fur on that face. There's this disfigured nose that you can see, and the jaw is all wrong, way too wide. The teeth are, oh God, and all of a sudden you're rolling sanity.
Yes, I thought that would be the case. That is a 59 under 64.
Okay, so you only lose one.
Okay, only one. Okay.
Yes, only one. But wait, there's more. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that is a little unnerving, even for you. They were talking to this thing and then they let it loose?
You unleashed this thing on Paris, Miss Bellinger?
Well, that's no way to speak about a veteran, Lady Elizabeth, especially when you have one in your employ. He's a man that deserves to live out the rest of his days in peace, which sounds like exactly what he wants, away from other people.
I don't know what you saw, but that is certainly not a man.
Well, it's certainly not a ghost.
Can I make an occult roll to see if I can identify?
I think a hard occult roll is reasonable.
Okay, well, my occult is pretty good, so Here's hoping. Ooh. 17 under 53.
Yeah. You're fairly certain that Guillaume might be a ghoul.
Miss Bellinger.
Yes?
Or maybe a vampire. Or maybe a werewolf. But he's got to fit into one of those three categories.
Are you familiar with the concept of ghouls?
I can't say that I am.
Well, they eat people.
Eat people?
Yes.
No, that's absurd.
Yes, they crop up quite frequently in occultic lore, and your friend, Mr. Guillaume, looks rather like one. I mean, I suppose it's possible he could be a vampire or something, but based on the facial features and the fur, and the fact that he was in the catacombs with all the dead people, they like eating dead people, and then you saw him in the sewers, he's probably a ghoul. You just unleashed a people eater on Paris.
Ghouls have difficulty with iron. He was barred by iron doors.
Mike, would I know that if I recognize him as a ghoul?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, sure. We're making occult rolls, not mythos rolls, so we get to be all kind of flexible with what is what, but that's fine.
Okay. Well, there are some texts that say that they can't pass over iron. There's several church cemeteries, actually, you'll find, where the gates are made of iron to prevent ghouls from finding their way in. And of course, there's other undead and demonic entities that are repulsed by iron, so it is a possibility.
You don't think that the human femur that myself and Richard found...
Yes, I rather think that your friend was having breakfast.
Oh. And Maggie gets a chill.
No, make a sanity roll.
58 against 67.
Okay. Lose a point of sanity. That's suddenly very disconcerting that as nice as Guillaume might have been, and as maybe pathetic as he was attempting to be, you may have unleashed a flesh eater on Paris, and then subsequently been thanked by him later on.
I find comfort knowing that he likely won't kill us, as we did set him free.
Sure.
Yes, Miss Bellinger?
I was just thinking about possibly getting a newspaper.
See if anyone's been eaten in Paris today?
I'm a little concerned. He seemed very hungry down in the catacombs, and so I am a little bit concerned, but myself and Richard, we didn't know what we just thought he was a man trapped down there.
Let me give you a word of advice, Miss Bellinger. If you come upon strange men behind bars in a catacomb somewhere, begging to be let out, maybe don't.
I will take your advice into strong consideration the next time I am in that situation.
Yeah, just consider it. That's all I ask. We can't be unleashing flesh eaters all over Europe.
Understandable.
All over Europe. Okay, so I should ask then, Miss Bellinger, are you going to then go to the cross hall room of the gentleman and begin showing your flesh-eating photos to people?
I was thinking about asking Lady Elizabeth when we would be leaving, because I did want to show her first, but now I'm thinking I could just show everyone at once. If they had decided on a time for us to depart for Poissy.
How far away is it, Mike?
It's like 17 miles. It's not far at all.
Okay, so we can just
pick up and go.
Hire a car or something?
Actually, you'd probably...
Or is there a train?
There is a train. You would probably also know that given the late winter, early spring months that it is, a car might be a little treacherous if it's gotten cold. There might be ice on some of those roads, so it might be easier just to get on a train and go down there. Probably quicker, too.
We were waiting for you to return, and then I think we were planning on taking the next available train. I believe Mr. Fraser has a list of departure times. He's very useful like that, and shouldn't take too long, and you can show the others your interesting photos while we're on the train.
Yes, I think that would be perfect.
Maybe don't let Mr. Griffith know that you unleashed a flesh eater on Paris.
I unfortunately believe that he already knows that we let him out.
Yes, but we don't have to tell him he's a ghoul.
That is true, yes.
All he knows is you let someone out of a catacomb. He doesn't have to know it's flesh-eating someone.
That's true, yes. It would probably calm his mind a little bit to know that more haints aren't out and about.
Okay, so the two of you, probably gather a few things to take with, not the entirety of the luggage and whatnot, but just a few items of note. Gentlemen, as I turn to you, Professor Mr. Fraser, and then Simon, given the hour or so that you've had, is there anything specific that you'd like to say that you've done in preparation for leaving for Poissy?
Well, I'll have gone to the reception again and asked which station the trains for Poissy leave from, and if they have a timetable.
They do. So there are a total of 5 trains during the day that go to Poissy. There's going to be one at about 11:30. You'll be able to get on.
Okay, I'll pass that information on to the others then and see if that suits. And if that's all fine and we decide to leave on that one, I'm going to head up to my room and I'm going to take a long wooden case that I brought with me off the out from underneath the bed, place it on the bed, open it up, and I'm going to take the rifle in it out, and I'm going to take it to pieces, polish it, reassemble it, make sure the sights are fine, and then put it into a canvas bag and prepare to take it with me.
Very good. You spend a little time polishing your rifle. Mr. Courtney, what are you spending an hour or so doing?
So I think Richard is going to prepare the device, because Maggie came up with the idea of taking that down there to see what we could find out using it. So that seems like a good idea. And he's been meaning to do it for ages. So Richard is finally going to write a letter to put the professor to tell him where we are and what we've been up to, and just asking him how he's doing. And he's going to mention that we're staying at the Bristol, and that I don't know how long we're going to be here. But maybe if he sends a letter back, we might still be here to catch it, or we could perhaps ask for the hotel to forward it.
Great. Sounds like a wonderful idea. Mr. Griffith.
I'll be doing something similar to Mr. Fraser, and I'll be opening up my case underneath my bed, drawing out the classic 30-06 and cleaning it all up and getting it ready to bring.
So you're going to take out the case that Dr. Pierce sent, yes?
Yes.
Because I don't know if I don't believe you've been through that case just yet.
No, not yet. It's going to be like Christmas.
So you open it up and you do find the not deconstructed rifle, but the broken down rifle that can be put together, which will much more easily fit in that case. Are you going through the entire case then?
I will flip through it right now. I'm going to bring, I would say, probably about 20 rounds for the 30-06. I'm aware of the size of the bullets, so.
Okay. The case is an absolute wonder. It has all sorts of just military goodies. So whether it's things that are more utilitarian, you see 8 bright red candlesticks on one side of it in a protected case. And so if you have to do a little work in that regard, you'll have that ability. Something you're not unfamiliar with as far as your mining goes. You also see that. Actually, give me a spot hidden roll. I'm going to see if you can suss this out.
38 under 43. That is a success.
This definitely has a false bottom, and that is where you've gotten to most of it. But when you get up the rounds in the rifle and then see the pack of dynamite, there is another area underneath this case, this bottom. There's a second false bottom in here.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna peek.
You lift up the sides and curl in the handle so that way you can pull it out. And when you expose the second false bottom, you see a very well-packed weapon of war. And then your mind snaps like a twig at a memory that crops up. And that's the Calais coach porter, who, when that young gentleman handed you a ticket, he addressed you as Mr. Thompson.
Oh.
Because there is, in fact, a weapon made by a gentleman named Thompson in the bottom of this.
Very nice. I carefully put that one back down. I'll be saving that for a rainy day, probably in Venice, I think. And I will just take the rifle for right now. Let's not play all our cards on the table right now. Perhaps I should bring 2 sticks, 2 candles along with.
Up to you. If you pack them, you pack them. You only have 8, so...
Understood. I will take 2 with me, carefully wrapped in an oilcloth so they don't get wet, and put them on an inside pocket of my trench. I am going to wear those heavy boots I had commissioned in London, and pretty much look like a European or American out preparing for heavy game.
Makes sense to me. So the group coalesces back. Mr. Fraser makes the times available to everybody so that way that they're aware. And you know that you've got about 20 minutes to get to a train station that's about 5 minutes away, Mr. Fraser. Given your the various dresses, if you didn't know better, Mr. Fraser, it appears that Mr. Griffith is prepared to perhaps go on safari, or maybe he's going deer hunting.
I just kind of look at him and look at what he's carrying with him, and then look back at him and nod. Just kind of a brief, firm nod. And he will probably notice that I've got a case with me as well, or a leather. That's kind of a leather and canvas case.
You know what they say, Mr. Fraser? Hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that, eh?
The train to Poissy for the 5 of you is not as elegant as the Orient Express, which is to be expected. This is more of a local or regional train service that goes out there. The air this morning has cooled a bit, and as you ride out into the countryside on this train, you start seeing flecks of snow fall. It blankets the countryside as you head out. There's a definite wind up, and Lady Elizabeth, you can tell that this train is not nearly as well built as the Orient Express, as it is a bit more jarring, and it's definitely taking some effort to keep warm.
I'm thinking about how much I'm going to regret this in the morning.
There are a lot of fields along the French countryside. You see small houses, you see open forests as well, so little patches of trees here and there that have secluded glens in them, animal tracks that run up alongside the train. You even see a few deer.
As we're travelling along, Mr. Fraser is quite quiet as he's looking out of the window as he watches the snow fall on the fields of France. His mind is cast back to the winter of 1916 when he watched the snow fall under very different circumstances in another field not that far away from here.
Not far at all. You do get a feeling that parts of this countryside are bleak There's even a bit of that desolate feel as you look far, far off and see the great nothingness that is the cold French countryside. It's hard not to get caught up in the war. But it isn't long until you meet back up with the Seine and pull into Poissy as the train comes to a halt. And you're snapped back to by the train coming to a halt.
Take a breath in and shake his head slightly to clear the cobwebs. I'll see to our. Do we have any baggage with us? Anybody brought any baggage, or we just kind of brought a handbag?
I think the only handbags and things you guys can carry by yourself. I don't think anybody brought a trunk or anything.
Well, I'll go and when the train comes to a halt and the guards open the doors, I'll get down and wait for a Lady Elizabeth to help her down onto the platform.
You all see a wooden platform that overlooks the town square. You see a waiting set of passengers press on the ramp from a nearby cafe restaurant from a hotel. Looks like the hotel seems to be a little warmer than maybe the train, but it looks like the guests, these passengers who are waiting, are also eager to see the train arrive. The town is undeniably bustling. It almost gives you this American frontier feel, Mr. Griffith. It almost feels like a frontier town hedged in by the forest, and there are several 3-story houses here, some of which seem a bit recent, Mr. Fraser. So the architecture here, it's possible maybe that this town was a bit touched by the war. Wouldn't shock you. But you all disembark.
Well, shall we go about finding the town hall, I suppose?
Yes. The sooner we can get out of this dreadful weather, the better.
If you all would like to make me a spot hidden roll, you may.
I'll unfurl an umbrella, I guess, if the weather was starting to turn when we're in Paris. I'll have made sure I brought an umbrella to hold above Lady Elizabeth as we make our way up.
42 under 53. That's a pass.
I failed.
36 under 43, that's a pass.
And with a 95, Richard is probably looking at his feet.
Not just looking at your feet. You actually trip because you've been making sure that the case is okay, and you accidentally bump into the back of Miss Ballinger, walking behind her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not looking where I'm going again.
No, that's all right, Richard. Though that also explains why Maggie didn't see anything.
My thoughts exactly. So for those of you who passed, you see a welcoming sign opposite the train platform near this hotel restaurant where passengers are waiting. And it's named after, it's a Pharmacie de la Gare. It appears that there's an English chemist here. But it just catches your eye because of the script.
Are we all planning on staying here overnight while we deal with this? Do we keep our rooms back in Paris?
Well, I wasn't planning on spending the night. It's still fairly early. I don't think it should take that much time.
Travel is short. Yes, I can't imagine us spending more than the afternoon. We can always come back tomorrow if we need to spend more time here.
All right, so you're going to have a look around, or perhaps go ask for directions?
I'll ask at the either one of the porters at the station or at the ticket office in the station.
Yeah, if you stop into the ticket station here is actually inside the hotel. It's been moved in there, they say. So when you go ask the porters, they say, if you'd like to stop into the hotel, monsieur, the snow and the wind, sometimes they don't stand here at the booth like us.
Of course.
Once inside, Mr. Fraser, the staff there let you know that the town hall is not far, and if you'd like, they can provide you with a map of Poissy, if you are here to see some of our sites.
Yes, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
So they provide you with a map.
I'll also ask if there's a local taxi firm that we could possibly utilise.
Yes, we have a man here at the hotel that has a car. A guest or not, is he's someone you could request his services?
Ah, merci.
So that is the map of Boissy. And you can see there that there's the hotel that you've come along to. And the Seine is not far at all.
First thing I'll ask as well, and notice on the outskirts, the Chateau d'Eau, is that a place of interest?
He looks at the map.
It's just down to the, assuming this map is north, is to the top of the map, it's just down to the southwest, by the cemetery.
He looks at you and says, oui, monsieur. It is a chateau that was used during the Revolution. It is no longer in use today. We have a few of those here.
Oh, I see. Yes, I would imagine there was quite a few chateaux during that time were had their inhabitants ripped from them.
Indeed.
Disposed of. Well, thank you very much. This I'm sure this will prove very helpful.
Yes. You also see where there's a hospital, and then there are some other hotels and other buildings which you might avail yourself of. A couple of cemeteries.
Are we at the hotel by the school, yeah?
Yes, sir. Cool. So you can see where the train line comes in at. And it basically drops you off at that gare there is, or gare is.
Gareta.
So it is, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that is where that's where the train stops, right there. Okay.
Well, should we find the town hall then, and see if we can find out where our good Comte lived?
Sounds like a good idea. Unless you have some other ideas, Mr. Fraser?
Well, if I'm not very much mistaken, based on this map and what the chap was saying to me, I have a strong suspicion the Chateau d'Eau may well have been the Comte's residence here. But I guess if we go to the town hall, we should be able to find some records just to see if that's correct or not. Of course, there may be another chateau further out off this map itself. But by his description, it did sound a little bit like this might be the fellow.
I recall the article saying that the Comte's mansion was burned down.
Aye, well, he did say it was no longer in use, so perhaps it's just a ruin.
Possibly.
All right. So, if you using the map, why don't you all make me those of you who have French, make me a French roll.
Okay.
Ooh la la.
Something like that. Yes.
Oh, killing it. 17 under 26.
Nice.
27 under 47? Yes, 47.
34 over 10. Nothing happening.
No.
And for me, that is 14 under 23.
Okay. So, Mr. Fraser, you look at the map, and it seems that you and Miss Ballinger, you come about to the same point. You see that on the right-hand side of the map, there is a pretty tall building. And you also see that it's nearest a crossroads here. So beyond the hotel, your figuring is that in this circle to the right here, just down the way, probably 2 or 3 blocks, is probably Town Hall, because it's situated at the 2 most major intersections.
Is that the Cercle de Lake?
I believe so, yeah.
Not sure if that's the right pronunciation of it.
And to you, Maggie, it's more like this is a very tall building and it stands out from everything else. And so that's probably the town
yes.
hall.
Classic, yeah. I do believe we should go this way. The building, the tall one on the horizon.
It makes sense to you.
Aye, that looks like the town hall there, yes.
Well, we should head there.
Very well then, let's go. Don't have much daylight.
Yeah, you guys are here. It's probably just after noon. It's probably 12:15 at this point. You head into down the street. Probably.
We've only got about another 5 hours of daylight. Better get a move on.
That's right. Better make it move.
I wouldn't want Mr. Griffith to have to be out in the dark with all of the haints.
Yes, the Hain. So you arrive a few blocks later at quite frankly, a rather impressive town hall for such a small city. It's got two large columns, almost Grecian in their size. It doesn't really even fit the building very much. But the entrance is quite grand. And this, clearly by sign, is the town hall. Entering the town hall itself, there are tables and counters that are set out. There are workers here that are seeing to things, probably 2 or 3. They don't give you any sort of greeting when you enter. They just see about their work.
Excuse me, gentlemen, we're here. We're trying to find some city records. Historical ones. Could you possibly help us with that?
You don't get any reply. One of the tellers looks up at you for a moment and then goes back to their work.
I look at my compatriots.
Were you speaking in French when you spoke to them?
If I was speaking fluently, then no, probably not.
If Maggie kind of looks back with a kind of shrug of her shoulder as if these people are ignoring me for some reason, I'll sort of take a step forward and say, Bonjour, excusez-moi.
You see the same gentleman who has patently been ignoring everybody since they walked in look up. Oui, monsieur.
Oui, je voudrais quelques informations de le château de cette ville.
He seems immediately interested in what you're saying. So what I'm going to have you do is give me a French roll.
Yep, which I'll probably fail.
You've got luck, sir. You never know.
I'll also say, parlez-vous anglais? Ma French est trop mal. Je me suis désolé.
He tells you in French, no, monsieur, I don't speak English, and I don't care to.
Ah oui, bien sûr. I will attempt to speak your language at you. Okay, so I rolled 27 there, so I'm definitely going to spend some luck. I'm going to spend the 4 luck it takes to make that a successful French roll.
You can now explain to me in English what you're going to explain to him in French, and then I'll tell you what happens.
Okay, so I'm basically, I want to ask if he has any information about the chateaux of the town and around the town and their history and any notable historical figures of the town. I'm going to specifically avoid saying Count Fenalik just for the time being, because based on the information that I've read about him, it probably sounds like he's not got a particularly good reputation, and I'll just kind of wait till I see what he comes up with, and I'll kind of play it by ear whether I actually mention the name or not.
What would ever give you that idea? I mean,
what, the guy with the torture chamber who got dragged screaming to a lunatic asylum? Yeah.
You engage with this clerk for a good, say, 5 minutes back and forth over what exactly you're looking for, and making sure you're being very careful with your words, because you've been tipped off now that it's pretty clear that at least this person, perhaps the entire town, is not real keen on speaking English or having anybody speak English to them for that matter. And so you carefully describe things. And he tells you that there are places here, obviously, that you could potentially look through the town records. And the way he keeps addressing it, the method by which he keeps addressing it is to say that you might be able to. It is possible. But he never really gets to the, here, I'll help you go find this, or here is where you can find this.
Okay. So I'll take a 5 franc note from my pocket and very discreetly place it under the palm of my hand with my hand on the counter, and kind of move my hand towards his and just kind of indicate over sort of somewhere to his side, say perhaps the records. Is that where you keep the records? And make him aware that I am discreetly bribing him.
Okay, so that is a fast talk roll, Mr. Fraser.
I let my money do the talking.
I understand that.
I have no ranks in fast talk at all. I mean, I'm not attempting to trick him in any way.
Okay. So perhaps then he looks down at your hand, and I'll just then ask for a charm roll to see if Mr. Fraser's being charming enough to get this over on him.
You know, just kind of say, I very much appreciate your help in this, and anything that I can do to assist, or if there's anything else you need, just let me know, that kind of thing. And I'll just make it apparent that I'm aware of that money oils the wheels of this kind of conversation.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a 42. I would need to spend 4 luck to make that a success.
You would, yes.
So that's what I'll do.
Okay. So after a bit of back and forth, again, you get the feeling that it'd be reasonable to perhaps pass him the note there, just directly under his ledger. That seems reasonable enough. He seems to almost physically just lift the ledger book a bit. And when you tuck the money underneath of it, he drops the ledger book down and gives you a soft nod. And then he seems to turn almost automatically. And he points to a filing system at the far end of the room. And he walks you over to it.
Ah, merci. I'll turn to the others and nod to those who are better at hunting through records for things than I am.
Okay. So after he shows you to the records, he opens one of the drawers and he says to you in French, given the era that you're looking for, he kind of notates the years. You may find these items here. And then he walks back over to his desk and continues his paperwork, carefully tucking the franc note in his pocket.
Okay, I'll thank him for his help, and I'll let the others know that this gentleman has told us that this is the area that we need to be looking in. Very helpful young chap.
Marvelous work, Mr. Fraser. So, let's have a look, shall we?
Yes, I should leave it to those of you who speak French, I think.
Care to help me out, Miss Bellinger? With your French?
I will certainly try.
That's the spirit.
Mr. Courtney, surely you're just looking for one particular name, but you don't need to speak French to find it.
This French system, it's all a mystery. I've put it down to the language, I think.
Oh, well, if you don't feel up to the task, then your ladyship, let me know if I can be of any assistance.
If you want to help by looking for that one particular name, Mr. Fraser, I would appreciate it.
Of course.
That is a library use roll for those of you who are going to do it. I guess, given the number of fingers and hands that could potentially be over the records, I suppose I'll just ask for perhaps a lead researcher, and then if someone would like to assist that lead researcher, I'm fine with that.
I have a 75 in library use.
I'm happy to assist.
Very well.
Okay. So, is that with a bonus die,
It is
Mike?
with a bonus die, provided that Maggie can provide you with one, if you get my meaning.
Ah, yes, so she needs to pass hers.
She does.
I'll hand down files from the top shelf.
90.
Oof.
She has not provided you with
Okay.
an advantage die. She has, in fact, provided you with a disadvantage die. Thank you, Hand of Fate.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay, so disadvantage. Okay, that's still a 45 under 75. I originally had a 25.
So the search takes about 2 hours instead of maybe an hour or half an hour that it could have taken.
I imagine Maggie keeps grabbing pages and turning them very fast before you can actually get a look at them, and I'm trying to scan as fast as I can, but that means I'm just turning things and taking from you and giving you things and flipping pages much too quickly.
It is a lot of records to look through, and you're doing your best, Lady Elizabeth, but you're not certain that Maggie made anything better. That said, after a little while, you do find an address that seems to line up with historically what you've got. It's an 18th century document. It pins down the former location of this Comte's villa. It's on the outskirts of town. You also find what look like plans, like building documents for the villa. And you find, after some cross-referencing, you find an address and a current owner.
Interesting.
Now, what have you discovered?
It appears that someone is currently living there. The doctor. They must have rebuilt after the fire. This could get interesting.
Indeed. On what pretense shall we visit?
Historical research? I mean, it's true. Of a sort.
Yes. Yes, I guess, I perhaps want to be slightly economical with, the exact, subject of the research, but yes, I think historical research is fair enough.
Okay. So are you planning on paying them a visit then?
If that's the correct address.
I mean, after 2 hours of work, it does seem to be the right address.
Okay. Very well then. Off we go.
Right, well.
Unless anyone else has any ideas for how we should approach Monsieur le Docteur.
Mike, did you say that there were blueprints, floor plans there as well?
So you get a rough outline of the house. You can see that it's a couple floor location.
Ah, yeah, great.
Is there a basement?
So obviously there's a basement, it's just not shown on these blueprints.
Well, map and address in hand, you go and you prepare to pay Chez Lorraine a visit then, yes?
I think so. Do we have a plan?
Well, we should probably make one. I've heard that going in without a plan tends to not go so well.
I mean, are we intending to try and gain access to the house?
Well, we need to see the basement, don't we?
Possibly. Richard did say that it would be better if we're closer when we try to use the sextant, so if we can't gain access, I don't think that will be the end of the world.
I'm sorry, did you just say use the sextant?
Yes, that is what I said.
What would be the reasoning behind that?
Well, if you and Mr. Griffith weren't constantly sneaking off to discuss things with each other, you would know that we talked about him possibly being able to see the past, see what happened here, and gain more information that way, or possibly even talk with Fenelique.
Excuse me, I was the only one who snuck off. Mr. Fraser was getting bandaged up by a doctor, thank you very much.
Is it not a wee bit dangerous to use this thing? Unless, of course, Professor Courtney, you have refined the technique and know how to work this device, whatever it is of yours. Is that the case? Have you discovered its workings? Have you found some sort of instruction manual?
Yes. No instruction manual, but I am somewhat more proficient with it than before.
Oh, well, that's good. So you know which was it, these lenses or something like that you were manipulating? You know which ones you need to use to be able to see the specific time and place in question.
Absolutely. The exact nature of the lenses and how to operate them is, yes, somewhat involved, but I'm very confident that, yes, I'm able to steer it, as it were.
Oh, right.
So, Professor, do you think you could use it just on the grounds without us actually going inside, or do you think we need to gain access?
I mean, I would be interested in gaining access in any case. If there's a basement there, it would be good to see if it's that there's anything there. But yes, I mean, failing that, I could certainly try from a distance.
What exactly are you thinking you're going to find in the basement, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we are looking for some of the Comte's old possessions, aren't we? Potentially the piece of the simulacrum.
Aye, I was thinking about that. Was it not somewhere in one of these pieces of information from the library or wherever it was that you found that they mentioned? What was it? One of these medieval torture devices?
Yes. If I recall correctly, that they did mention an Iron Maiden or something of a similar nature.
Aye. Now, it strikes me that... Do we know what these pieces of the simulacrum look like? Are they not put together? Am I remembering this correctly? When put together, they form some sort of golem or a man or something along those lines. Is that right? Like a humanoid figure?
I believe Beddoes' note mentioned a statue, so yes.
Aye, a statue.
What sort of size it is, I have no idea, and how it's been deconstructed, I don't know.
Because it occurs to me, now, perhaps I'm barking up completely the wrong tree here, but it occurs to me that the way they describe this thing, they didn't call it an Iron Maiden, did they? They called it something else. What was it now? But anyway, the way they described it, it did strike me as somewhat odd, and I was wondering to myself, if you were to break down a statue into different pieces and hide them, perhaps hiding them in plain sight is the best way to go. And what better way to hide something in plain sight than to have it on display, as it were, in use? So I'm wondering. Sorry, I'm rambling a little here, I know. I'm wondering if perhaps this torture device, this Iron Maiden, actually is the simulacrum, or some of it is perhaps this part of the simulacrum that we're looking for.
I believe he called it a Nuremberg Virgin or something along those lines.
Aye, Nuremberg Virgin, that's it. And he did describe it as being peculiar in some way, didn't he? I don't have the piece of paper to hand. To my recollection, if I'm right, after reading it, I believe... what was it he said now? Let me... oh, yes, no. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to recall. I believe he said something along the lines of... many devices of torture lay in many chambers. One of my men found a strange Nuremberg Virgin, which was locked. Fearing to find a fresh occupant, we smashed it open but found it to be empty. I believe it was something along those lines.
So where do you think we would find it?
Well, he certainly did describe that there were chambers beneath the I'm presuming it was a chateau, the house, whatever the residence was. So whether or not they were covered over when they burnt the building. Perhaps the building that's there now is a completely different structure, but the cellars or the chambers beneath still remain.
So it looks like we're going to be seeking entrance no matter what. So you get your wish, Professor. So how are we going to insert ourselves into this situation?
Yes, it's a good question. We need an excuse to forage, so we say in the basement. I don't really know whether we could suggest some item of archaeological interest, perhaps.
But have you not seen the plans? There is no basement in this house.
Must be a basement.
Well, there's none on the plans, and it's entirely possible that if the original structure was razed to the ground and a new one built on it, then there is no access to the basement through it, or perhaps none known to the occupants.
Could there be an entrance on the grounds somewhere? Covered up or locked up?
Or a secret door, perhaps, within, which would involve a certain amount of trial and test to find it. And I can't for the life of me think of a reason that we could give to Monsieur le Docteur for entering his house and hunting around for a secret door or a secret entrance into a basement.
Perhaps an alternative approach would be warranted. If we could find some subject of interest with which we could discuss, perhaps we might work out when they may not be at home. Maybe they are planning on going to the theatre or something similar. And perhaps then we could conduct our investigations without disturbing them, shall we say.
Professor, are you suggesting we break into someone's home?
I mean, that would certainly be one way of phrasing it.
What if you attempted to use your device on the grounds and maybe it would show us where an entrance was?
An absolutely splendid idea.
I mean, it might not, but it's worth a try, isn't it, before we jump to let's break into some probably old doctor's home and go rifling around in their things?
Absolutely.
All right, so off to Chez Lorraine then, yes?
I think we should.
All right, very well then. We will catch up with our investigators doing that in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed another episode of Horror on the Orient Express, and we can't wait to get back.